Well, we are so excited to kick off our very first podcast. This is it.
Episode 1, Season 1.
And possibly the last one.
Possibly the last one.
But this has been something that has actually been in the works for like 3 or 4 days.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much.
You got to shorten it down. It's been in the works for many years from a father's perspective. Yeah, I've wanted to do something together with the family. Family seemed to be the topic.
Yeah.
Encouraging families.
Because, because families have been very important for you. I mean, my whole life, obviously, but beyond that.
Yes.
I mean, your dad.
It's not only important, it was part of my job. It's part of what I grew up in. It's part of people investing in our families. And frankly, the need. The need that we see when we look around America. Families need encouragement. Families need tools to strengthen.
Yeah. Well, why don't you just run through our family and give everybody
an introduction
just
to who we are?
quick introduction of what they're working with here.
All right. We're the Snyder family. I'm Doug, and my wife is Beth. We have 5 wonderful children. 4 of them are married. And we have 9 beautiful grandchildren. So we are in the happy stage of grandparenting. My wife is in heaven, and she's gone off and to babysit and care for the kids, and I get to go along on occasion. We have just a wonderful time. Sam is my 4th child. He's of the boy-girl ratio. He is the 3rd man. And thank you. You're welcome. And so that's the Snyder family.
So this first one, kind of want to just lay the groundwork for why we're doing this. Like, what's the point? Like, why are we taking the time to hop on here to talk into a few mics and
and talk about families?
And to talk about families, like there has to be a purpose as to why we're doing this.
Well, I think the obvious answer is take a look around at families in America. And they're struggling. From when I was a kid to today, the family seems to, I guess, in certain terminology, been under attack.
Yeah.
Trying to redefine what a family is, redefine the family unit.
Well, and to go off that, there's stats to back that up.
Okay.
Which there's a stat from the U.S. Census that says since 1970, 40%. So 40% of families were nuclear in 1970.
Okay.
To today, there's 18%, which is a drastic drop.
Okay.
Which goes to your point of what you've seen throughout your lifetime about the family kind of taking a back seat and being redefined.
Intentional attempts to disrupt the family. And I think why we're doing this is because, in my mind, family is the one unit of any community or of a nation that so goes the family, so goes the nation.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead.
If the family is torn apart, the nation gets torn apart.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that a family does, and we may get into that in a little bit, to help individuals.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I can speak from that from a firsthand standpoint.
Okay.
When I was in high school and I graduated, went to college, and I'm growing up in our family. I grew up in a great home.
Thank you.
Yeah, soak it up while you can. But I grew up in a great family, but I was, peace out, see a family. Wasn't really interested in family, wanted to do my own thing with my friends, whom I love, and I have amazing friends.
Yes, you do.
Amazing friends. But so I went to college, and I dropped out after one semester. And I didn't want to move home at the time, just of circumstances, and I didn't want to, just at that point in my life.
You're out, you don't want to come back.
I didn't want to come back after 6 months.
Yep.
So I was looking at different options, and actually Ben and Rachel, my brother and his wife, took me in, and they cared for me, and they got me on my feet, and they helped me, get a job. And so they were crucial in helping me in that stage of my life. And I can honestly say I would not be here if it wasn't for them. And I'm forever grateful. And so that's just one example of how important and how crucial family can be.
Is that when the importance of family started to rebirth in you?
Yeah. And obviously from that, I started to gain a greater appreciation for family. But I still don't think it was there for probably another handful of years until I got married in the past year, which when you get married, then I'm starting to look towards my kids, and I'm like, okay, what does my family look like? And so then, it revamps the interest and the importance of family. And so I just wanted to share that quick about.
Well, your life now is the beginning of family.
Yeah.
And you and Larissa, and you'll have children, Lord willing, someday. Yeah. And so there's a new focus on.
So I share that in just saying that's why it's so important. That's just one reason. And as we look around our nation today, there's depression, loneliness, lack of purpose, all these different things that
families provide.
Or should be exactly. Yes. Right. And so that's why we're doing this. And it's fun too. I mean, you're 60.
60.
So this is all we can do. No. No, I'm just kidding. But, and so did you notice at any point in your life, like we kind of talked about the decline, and we talked about, from the 70s to now, that decline. When did it get real? And we talked about when it got real for me. When did it get real for you?
Families, the importance of families?
Yes.
Well, I was fortunate to grow up in a great home. I had a great mom and dad who were very intentional about building into us kids, about working on the cohesion of the family. Because at that time, there were a lot of things that were putting pressure on the family. If the 60s, there was the big sexual movement, and be free and be wild, and drugs tended.
You can't do this.
Be free, be wild. I can do that. And that was when there was a real pressure on the family to try and disrupt what we considered the traditional family prior to that. And lost my train of thought. So anyway, they were intentional about building into our family. I remember going to a conference and coming back with a book, a 4-inch binder filled with things that was specifically designed for me at my age. And my sisters got one for their age, and age-appropriate stuff. But it was basically on surveys and questionnaires that would help us identify areas of need or areas of weakness, and trying to help us understand the importance of our own character, our relationship with our siblings, our honoring of our parents. And so it was just trying to teach healthy family relations. And then my dad would also do things at the end of the year. We'd have a time where we'd sit down for an hour or so. It got a little longer maybe as we got older, a little shorter as we were younger. But what were our goals for the next year? What did we want to achieve? What do we want to do? And so we'd write them out on paper. He was a real believer in writing out things on paper, because it seemed like you burn the fuzz off your thinking when you write things down on paper, as you just kind of imagine them in your brain. So I'm a big writer. And he also had people come into family gatherings, like in the summer, if we had some kind of a small family reunion, he'd bring people in that would teach us about relaxation techniques or reflexology or healthy eating. Always kind of trying to teach us ways to improve and be better. And so I came out of that environment And in about 1980, James Dobson was a big, Focus on the Family was a big program people listened to in our circles. And he was sounding the alarm that the family was under attack, and it was demonstrated by the rise in divorce cases or in divorces and families falling apart. And so at that time, I think in 1980, 50% of new marriages got divorced. So one day when I was driving down a neighborhood block, I just looked at each house. This one's married, this one got divorced, this, in my mind, just applying the 50%. Married, divorced, married, divorced. And I started thinking about my my friends. And I thought, I don't know as it was that high among my friends, but I did know some of my friends that had parents that were divorced, and it was very tough on them, very hard for them.
And there's cases where divorce is obviously necessary, and
abusive situations, and
there's
infidelity.
So I'm not saying that
all divorces are bad, and that but generally speaking,
yes,
a together family and a healthy family that's together is the unit of any healthy community, which makes a healthy.
Yeah.
That's what you started off by saying: strong families, strong communities, strong nation. I believe that with all my heart. And so, noting how much intentionality my dad had, mom had put into the family, and then hearing stories like when we were little kids, just little guys. There was families that would build into my dad and mom as young mom and dads. And so can you see the investment, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Is invest in others.
and it just takes intentionality. And it seems so simple.
Right.
Because it's so close to us sometimes, but it takes intentional investment in our family.
It does, Sam. And you said something, you used a term earlier when we were just talking about this first podcast, and I think it was important. It's that, personal transformation, change is always scary for people.
Yeah.
And particularly if we're not in charge of the changes.
Yeah.
But I think you used the word personal transformation. When we do this podcast, we're trying to improve families, give them tools and encouragement to build a strong family. Well, that in itself means change.
Yeah.
It means personal transformation. You got to give up. The best kind of leadership is servant leadership.
Yeah.
And so you've got to change. And so some of the people... Sacrifice.
And that's so counter culture.
Oh, so total countercultural today.
Yeah.
It's all about me, all about, how
I think that's why it's even more important every day as we become more individual focused, that we become more family focused, and that takes sacrifice. And that's the hardest thing to do.
This little thing right here can keep you in your own world. And you can become so self-absorbed and self-focused just on that device. Then we have computers and laptops and books and streaming and TVs and even sports. I mean, some of the things that the investments that people make in sports, fishing houses and guns and blinds for hunting.
All good, all fine things.
But what did you say? The very thing that's the most important, family, gets overlooked by all these distractions, and it's easy to get distracted. I'm distracted all the time. I constantly have to pull myself back into what's.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I know. But I know for a long time, one of the things that made me hesitant to talk about family was that I felt I had to be an expert, and I don't feel like I am an expert. What I feel like I've done is collected a lot of expert ideas. Beth and I had the chance to travel quite a bit in our life, particularly before kids, some after kids. But we traveled extensively in the United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, India. And in those travels, we would stay with host homes or in host homes. And we had hundreds, if not thousands of hours of conversations with our hosts. And as young marrieds, of course, we were looking for models and examples and ideas how to build a strong marriage and how to build a strong family. So over the course of years of travel and conversations, I just began to collect these things. And I don't know why, but they would stick in my mind. Like, for example, in Thailand, there was a husband singing to his wife's very pregnant belly. And I thought, what in the world is he doing? So I asked him, what are you doing? He said, I'm singing to the baby. I'd never heard of a such thing. Why would you talk to a baby that's in the belly? And he said, oh, the baby hears everything. And we are developing a relationship with our child during the 9 months of pregnancy. We sing to the baby, we talk to the baby, we read books to the baby every night. And that has proven to be, I mean, you think that, well, you can just build a relationship with a kid when they become talkers and thinkers. Oh, no. Your relationship with your child goes back to in utero. That was one example. Another example, we brought little Benjamin when we lived in Canada. We brought Benjamin to the park. He's probably 2 in a little stroller, and we were seeing a 3-year-old or 4-year-old slide down with Dad, a little short girl. She came down off the slide. Her legs weren't long enough to touch the ground, so when she got to the bottom of the slide, whoop, right onto her face, onto the little pebble gravel, you know. And my first response was, oh, no, I bet you she's got cuts on her face or she's hurt, she's going to cry. That would have been my response. But his response, this father that I was watching, didn't meet him, didn't talk with him. He went up to the little girl and he said, oh, honey, that was awesome. Let's try it again. And so they went around to the ladder, went up to the top of the slide, and they slid down again. And she was just as happy as could be. What I learned from that was your response as a parent to the events and to the questions and to the things that go on in your child's life is absolutely formative in how they see those events and those questions and what they talk about. And so I think you mentioned you went to college and then you called us one day and said, I don't think I'm going to continue. I took that lesson from that playground and the importance of responding to you as an adult, young adult, and I just listened and I said, oh, wow, this is a great opportunity because what you said made sense. This is why I want to leave school. This is what I want to do. And I knew you were smart. I knew you were strong. I knew you'd do well. And I knew also that you wouldn't make every decision right, but you would learn from each decision you made.
And so we're really excited for this.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things that we're working on that will be those tools for you guys. We have a devotional that's done and that's working on being printed right now. You have several other books that you're in the works. Yep. Grandpa has a book that he wrote.
Nearly done.
Excited for that. We have original music. I write music, just pop stuff. Ben writes music, worship music. He writes music with his church, which is awesome, the Waters Church.
Yep.
They write awesome music. We have blog posts. We have interviews with guests, with siblings, pastors, therapists. We got a lot of stuff coming up, and we're really excited about it to start to build, like we say, a toolbox for you guys to invest and strengthen and encourage your families. Because that's what it's all about, is to continually invest, just like people have invested in you.
Kind of to wrap the first session up, is in 1978, I wanted to buy my first stereo.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to just go uptown and get, a realistic stereo. I wanted to get the best of what I could afford with the little money I had. And so I began studying stereo systems and how to put them together. And one of the phrases that became very important to me, not only for buying that stereo, but really kind of a lesson throughout life, was that your stereo is only as good as its weakest link. So I could buy a good receiver, a good turntable, but if the speakers were poor, my stereo is only as good as those speakers were good, right? So I wanted to get good for every piece that I bought. So I bought Bose 301 speakers. I bought a Yamaha R500 receiver. I bought a Technics 5200 SL direct drive turntable. And that's all we had back then, is those 45s and LPs, long playing records. And so that was solid for the amount of money that I had and could afford. But you translate that concept into communities. Your community is only as strong as the weakest link. Well, if communities are made up of families, it's really important that we help other families become strong. Now, I know it's maybe a Pollyanna theory to think that every family is going to be beautiful and perfect, and that's not the case. We're not perfect. We're not going to be, but we can help each other be stronger. And when we help each family become strong, that makes a strong community. And strong communities make a strong nation. And so we want to help. Every episode, you should be able to take one thing away.
Yeah.
Just one little thing.
We want to keep it short, practical.
And if we give you 100 tools over 100 episodes, that's little by little incremental growth, incremental strengthening.
Yeah. So we're excited to keep this going, and we can't wait for all the things that the Snyder Family Podcast holds. And we can't wait to hear stories from you guys about encouragements, about things that you're doing in your families, and maybe we can talk about on the podcast. So make sure to jump over to our website. You can connect with us there. You can find all of our other social medias. You can stay up to date with everything going on. So we're so excited, and we can't wait to see you next time.